I remember the exact moment when everything started to shift between us. It was a chilly evening, the kind where the air feels sharp, and every breath you take reminds you that time doesn't stop for anything. We sat on the park bench, where we had spent countless hours laughing and dreaming, but that night, the silence was heavy, thick with things unsaid. You looked at me, eyes searching, but there was something different. I could feel it in the way your fingers tapped nervously against the worn wood beneath us. It was like you were holding back a storm you couldn't contain, and I was caught in the eye of it, not knowing if it would pass or tear us apart. I tried to break the silence with a joke, but it fell flat, like a fragile vase dropped on a hard floor. Your lips twitched, almost smiling, but it wasn't real. The tension in your posture betrayed the calm you tried to fake, and I knew something was wrong, something that couldn't be fixed with small talk. You finally said it, your voice barely above a whisper, a secret you'd been carrying, one that shattered the foundation of our trust. I felt my chest tighten as you spoke, every word like a shard of glass slicing through the fabric of our friendship. The shock left me breathless, the hurt immediate and raw. I wanted to ask why, to understand the reasons behind the betrayal, but the words caught in my throat. Instead, I sat there, numb, watching as the person I thought I knew became a stranger wearing familiar skin. The night wrapped around us, cold and unyielding, mirroring the distance growing between our hearts. Days passed, and the silence grew heavier. We avoided each other in every place we used to share, the coffee shop where we spent lazy afternoons, the corner of the library where we whispered secrets, the street where we first met. It felt like the world had split, and we were on opposite sides, unable to bridge the gap. I kept replaying our conversations in my mind, searching for clues or signs I missed. Was I blind to the cracks forming beneath the surface? Had I ignored the subtle changes in your eyes, the fleeting moments when your smile didn't quite reach the corners? The questions haunted me, gnawing at my sense of reality. One evening, I found myself standing outside your apartment, heart pounding like a drumbeat I couldn't control. The urge to confront, to demand answers, wrestled with the fear of what I might discover. I hesitated, hand raised to knock, but the walls held their secrets tight, and I walked away, swallowed by the night. Our mutual friends began to notice the shift too, their glances filled with pity or awkwardness. Conversations became strained, as if everyone was waiting for an inevitable fallout. I resented the way our shared world was shrinking, the way memories became ghosts that haunted empty spaces between us. Then came the message, a text that appeared like a lifeline or a trap. Your words were cautious, almost pleading, asking if we could talk, if there was a chance to mend what was broken. My fingers trembled as I typed back, unsure if I was opening a door to reconciliation or walking into a storm. We met again at the old park bench, the place where it all began and where it seemed it might end. The air was thick with anticipation, the sky painted in bruised purples and fading gold. You looked different, vulnerable and hesitant, and I realized how much we had both changed in the silence between us. Words spilled out, tangled and messy, as we tried to navigate the wreckage of our friendship. There was anger, confusion, sorrow, emotions raw and unfiltered. You explained, your voice breaking, the reasons behind your choices, not excuses, but a desperate attempt to be understood. I listened, torn between the urge to forgive and the sting of betrayal that still burned. Trust, once broken, felt like a fragile thread stretched too thin. But beneath the pain, I glimpsed the person I had known, the friend who had stood by me through storms and sunshine, the one whose laughter still echoed in my mind. As the night deepened, we sat in silence, the weight of our shared history pressing down. I wasn't sure if this was the beginning of healing or the final goodbye, but in that moment, the possibility of rebuilding something new flickered like a fragile flame in the dark. The next days were a blur of texts and tentative meetings, each step forward tangled with hesitation. I realized trust wasn't something that could be demanded or rushed. It had to be earned again, piece by piece, moment by moment. And sometimes, the hardest part was deciding whether to try or to let go. I caught myself staring at my phone, waiting for a message that might never come, wondering if the friendship we had was strong enough to survive the cracks. The uncertainty gnawed at me, but there was also a stubborn hope that beneath the pain, something real remained. Friends reached out, offering advice wrapped in their own experiences, some urging me to move on, others to fight for what we had. Their words were a chorus of voices, but only I could decide the path forward, caught between heartbreak and the possibility of redemption. One evening, I found a note slipped under my door, simple, handwritten, a small olive branch extended in ink. It wasn't an apology or a promise, just an acknowledgement that we were both hurting and willing to try. That fragile gesture held more weight than any grand declaration. I folded the note carefully, feeling a flicker of something I hadn't dared to feel in a long time, trust, fragile but alive. The road ahead was uncertain and rocky, but maybe, just maybe, our friendship could find its way back from the brink. As days stretched into weeks, we began to rebuild slowly, rediscovering the rhythms of shared laughter and quiet understanding. It wasn't perfect, scars remained and new boundaries were drawn. But in the cracks, new light found a way to shine through, fragile and tentative but real. There were moments of doubt when old wounds reopened, and we both faltered, questioning if the pain was worth the effort. Yet, the memory of what we had lost and the possibility of what could be kept us tethered, reminding us that friendship, like all things precious, must be guarded fiercely. One afternoon, we sat in the same park, the sun warming our faces, and shared stories not of betrayal but of hope, of plans and dreams that still mattered. The distance between us had lessened, replaced by a cautious closeness, a willingness to trust again, even if just a little. I realized that trust wasn't about perfection or forgetting the past. It was about choosing to believe in someone despite their flaws, about embracing uncertainty with an open heart. And maybe that was the most fragile and beautiful thing of all, the choice to keep trying. But just as we began to find our footing, a new secret threatened to surface, casting shadows over the fragile peace we'd built. The fear of losing each other again hung heavy in the air, and I braced myself for whatever would come next, knowing this journey was far from over. Every word, every glance, became a test of how much we were willing to risk for the sake of a friendship balanced on the edge. The line between trust and doubt blurred, and I found myself wondering if some things were meant to be forgiven or if some breaks were just too deep to mend. Still, in the quiet moments, when the world felt distant and complicated, I caught glimpses of the friend I once knew, the laughter that could fill a room, the kindness that reached beyond words. It was enough to keep me holding on, even when the path was uncertain. And so here we are, two people tangled in a story neither wanted to write, but both had to live through. A story of trust tested, hearts bruised, and the fragile hope that maybe, somehow, friendship could survive the brink. I don't know what comes next. Maybe we'll find a way back to the easy days, or maybe this is where the story ends. But for now, I'm here, still willing to listen, to speak, to try, because some friendships aren't just about the good times, they're about fighting for the light when everything else feels dark. And in that fight, I realize, lies the true test of trust, the courage to be vulnerable, to face the unknown together, and to hold on even when the world seems ready to pull us apart. So I'm sharing this here because maybe someone else knows this feeling, the ache of a friendship on the edge, the desperate hope that it can still be saved. If you do, maybe you understand why I'm not ready to give up yet, why I'm still here, waiting for that fragile flame to catch. Because friendship, after all, is more than just moments and memories. It's the willingness to stand in the storm, even when the sky falls, and to believe that beyond the darkness, there might still be light. And sometimes, that belief is all we have left. I can still hear your voice in the quiet, the way it used to lift me up when everything else was falling down. It's a sound I'm desperate to hold on to, even as the silence grows louder between us. I'm learning that forgiveness isn't a single moment, but a journey, a winding path with no clear destination. And I'm not sure where this road will take us, but I'm walking it anyway, step by uncertain step. Sometimes I wonder if you feel the same, if you're haunted by the same memories and regrets, or if you've already moved on, leaving me behind in the shadows of what we once had. But then I catch a glimpse of you, a flicker of the old warmth in your eyes, and I remind myself that people aren't defined by their mistakes, but by the choices they make after them. I want to believe that we can rewrite the story, that the pages aren't finished, and that the next chapter holds something better, something real and unbreakable. The hardest part isn't the betrayal or the pain. It's the uncertainty, the not knowing if what we had can ever be the same or if it's changed forever, like a river that's been diverted from its course. But maybe change isn't always a bad thing. Maybe it's the only way to grow, to become something stronger than before, even if it means letting go of what we thought was unbreakable. I'm trying to hold on to that hope, even when it feels like grasping at smoke, because without hope, what do we have left? Tonight, I'm writing this with a heart full of questions and a soul weighed down by doubt, but also a stubborn spark that refuses to die. A spark that says maybe, just maybe, friendship can survive even the darkest nights. And if you're out there, feeling the same, know that you're not alone. We're all walking this fragile line, trying to find our way back to the people who mean the most, even when the path is uncertain and the future unknown. So here I am, sharing my story, not because I have answers, but because I need to believe that there's still a chance. That trust can be rebuilt, that friendships can be healed, and that sometimes the bravest thing we can do is keep trying. Because in the end, that's what love, of all kinds, is about. The willingness to be vulnerable, to risk everything, and to hold on to the hope that we're not broken beyond repair. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough to keep us moving forward, one uncertain step at a time. I don't have all the answers, but I do know this. The story isn't over, not yet, and for that, I'm grateful. So if you're reading this and feeling the weight of a friendship on the brink, know that it's okay to be scared, to be hurt, and to be unsure. But also know that it's okay to hope, to fight, and to believe in second chances. Because sometimes, the most difficult journeys lead to the most meaningful destinations. And maybe, in the struggle, we find not just friendship, but ourselves. Thank you for listening to my story. It's messy, it's painful, and it's far from over, but it's real, and that's all I can ask for. I'll keep walking this path, uncertain but hopeful, because some friendships are worth every risk, every tear, and every moment of doubt. And I hope that, wherever you are, you find the courage to do the same. Because in the end, that's what keeps us human, the messy, imperfect, beautiful dance of trust and friendship. And I'm ready to keep dancing, even when the music feels like it might stop at any moment. So here's to the stories that aren't finished, to the friendships that are tested, and to the hope that keeps us holding on. Because sometimes, the bravest thing we can do is simply keep believing. And maybe, one day, that belief will be enough to bring us back together. Until then, I'll be here, waiting, hoping, and holding on to the shards of trust we're trying to piece back together. Because even on the brink, friendship is worth fighting for. And that fight, messy and painful as it is, might just be the beginning of something new. Thank you for being part of this journey with me. The road ahead is uncertain, but I believe in the power of trust to light the way. And as long as that light burns, there's a chance for us all to find our way home. So here's to friendship, fragile, complicated, but endlessly worth it. And here's to the hope that never dies, even when everything else feels broken. Because in the end, that hope is what keeps us moving forward. And sometimes, that's all we need. Thank you for listening.